Hi, I'm Josh Apter, founder of Manhattan Edit Workshop, partner at Filmmaker U, and I'm filling in for Gordon Burkell. Get well soon. Filmmaker U, here we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify their skill sets. At least that's what we try to do. Hopefully, we're good at it. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com. Find us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. Every week we interview film professionals. This week it is Philippe Le Sourd, who is a cinematographer on the Sofia Coppola film Priscilla. He's got many other credits. We're going to talk just about that film today. So welcome, Philippe Le Sourd, to Filmmaker U's chat today. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, very good. And I am in Paris, rainy.
Oh, it's raining in Paris. Well, it's so sunny in New York that I had to block out the shade. They're blinds, and the sunlight is so intense that it was making crosshatches on my face. Something I'm sure as a
Very dramatic.
cinematographer. But yeah, well, you can see it on the pillow in the back, but that's one of those. I wish I could just gel these windows because it would be really nice to have some natural light. But it's an old white linen suit hanging in front of the window that you can't see and no one will ever see. So, in terms of actually a jumping off point into Priscilla, I do want to ask you some other questions, but about how you got started and things like that. But I just watched it, and I thought what was so striking, certainly in some of the opening scenes, was the use of natural light. I couldn't help noticing a lot of what looked like sun coming in from a window as a dominant source when she's on the in the military base. A lot of even the interiors seem really dominated by a lot of the light coming in from outside versus the light that you would have made from practical sources and things like that. I'm assuming all of these things are intentional, but tell me a little bit about the sort of the concept and the collaboration on this film and your decision on how you wanted to handle some of these things.
In general, I found most natural to have the light from outside. So I tried my best. It's not necessarily because I want to avoid light inside the set because sometimes you have to. And but I think it's a more natural. You will go about the sun effect is coming from outside, who's demanding more, obviously more light because your source is further away. But I find that the quality of it was more interesting for what I was looking for. But it's a mix of something naturalistic I'm looking for, and the beauty of it, and but also to find on the naturalistic light some dramatic also. So to find on the space, on the scene art, on the character art, particularly, how that could help the scene by himself. So that always I find that the balance I have to achieve at the end.
I've been a camera person for 30 years and I fell in love with cinema. I heard there was free film school in France and I wanted to get into the French film school. I really didn't know anything at the time, but I knew at least how to take pictures. So I said, I'll try for the image department. And then when I miraculously got into the French film school, I fell in love with working with the camera. You're following what's going to be in the movie. So that immediacy that the camera allows is what I loved from the beginning. I'm Kirsten Johnson, and this is my course about documentary cinematography.
And this is so, and how does that collaboration take place? This isn't the first time you've worked with Sofia Coppola, right?
That's my third movie with her.
And this one's also unique in the sense that it's a true story, or it's based on a memoir. But I'm assuming you discussed how you wanted this to look and feel, what you wanted it to reveal and hide, and what was it like to discuss that and come up with a creative motif for the film?
I think it's very hard to create a motif from the beginning or only from the start discussion. I think we have when you collaborate, when we start, especially with Sophia, I guess every director is different. I think for her it's more about Priscilla point of view and the loneliness. But so we share picture, but there are no such strong idea after preparation and meeting how the light should be and then how the scene should be. I think she opened her mind to let me do what I think is what we feel better for the film. And after, she can judge and we can speak about it. But in general, she let the door open about, is a full confidence about the light. Of course, you have, Germany with, winter time, 1950s. So the look is different compared to, Graceland, full sun in America, and the sense of the period at this time is completely different. The 50s in America and the 50s in Germany. So already the color are different. So in America is more pop-up. So you need to bring, you need to go with the idea of it. So the look are already different.
Yeah, well, that's funny because when you say that, it made me think of Three Colors trilogy, the Kieslowski films, and the difference. I mean, dramatic differences in the one set in Paris, and I don't remember where was Blue set. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so, and of course you have the 70s Las Vegas, which is its own. I don't like Las Vegas, so when it's expressed as sort of this, hellscape, for lack of a better term, with these deep reds and the fire of the neon, that kind of hit it right in the head for me. But I know there's an emotional component of the expression of that location as well.
But I think what it was interesting is to explore the color vibration for each scene. So, and what will help the scene from the beginning to the end. So, of course, Las Vegas is pop up. How you can imagine, but it never being a discussion, about what will be behind this curtain. So it was an interpretation of me thinking how that could help the emotion of the scene. So, at the beginning, the art department put a small fluorescent light, and I tried to go for the end for a stronger idea of emotion and color together. So I pushed forward this idea, and not necessarily because it was, of course, the fact is in Las Vegas helped me on this idea because I could justify the concept of it. But that's something I always try to explore overall in general during a movie. The digital world helped me to do that because you can see and react right away with the color. What on film it was more difficult because on film you don't do tests previously with color, with the density of the color, you could be very wrong. So digital, you can make a choice, have more, for example, on the red, more magenta, more blue, more yellow. So you can define more precisely exactly what you want.
Do you have having worked in both mediums, do you ever have a longing for working in film, or is it just?
Yeah, both. I think I discovered to shoot on digital a movie what I never did before. I shot the digital, of course, for commercial for the last 10 years, but I never shot a movie, and it was very interesting because you can change your mind very fast. So that would be very helpful, on the technical challenge, especially because you have 6 week shoot. And it's 5 days, 30 days shoot for a movie like that with a lot of setup, different ambience, and so that's what challenging. So digital would help me, but no, but the film is beautiful. I couldn't do the Beguiled on digital the way it look. I think each media has its own texture and feeling and emotion. So I won't say this is better. I say it's just an opportunity to challenge something different each media. So I enjoy the process of it. So of course the film will be different shooting on this film, but I will have perhaps passing more time, less adventurous on certain things, and I get better sleep. So I enjoy the digital world.
So there are film home movies in the film
Yes.
that were not shot on film, but made
No.
to look like film.
No, they were shot on film.
Well, okay, that's interesting because there was a
They
rollout at the end of one. You could
they shot on Bolex and Super 8. And,
really, that's great.
but you see the beauty of it, with very lovely. And you suddenly, when we shot the wedding scene, it was a few shots on the wedding scene shooting with the Bolex, and we mixed together the Boss Media digital and Bolex. Suddenly you see, wow, the Bolex was beautiful, So I was thinking, probably we should shoot all the movie in Bolex, but it would make no sense. But it is what it is, So I think I enjoy all the format, as possible, and explore everything. You have to explore. I would say the more dangerous way to find something interesting on film and digital.
Yeah, no, it's different, and gratifying in different ways. I think that what you see in the Bolex, which I thought was digital, ever since I saw, I think it was Kelly Reichardt's movie First Cow, I think was the name of the film, and I was convinced that she shot it on film as it was just like put herself through some rigorous Altman exercise to make this Western look like, have a McCabe and Mrs. Miller sort of situation. And then I read about it, and it was completely digital and just made to look like that in post. But it was, it was a very beautiful, very film. It was a photochemical experience. That's all I have to say about that movie.
But I think it's not, at the end, it's not about what is best or not. I think what is a good cinematography or not.
Yeah, I mean that's
you could have a terrible cinematography on film and terrible cinematography on digital. So it's matter of what are you pleased for what you see, whatever the format.
Well, getting back to Priscilla, which I think is a very beautiful film, about a very lonely life. Were there things that you were looking at in terms of lighting and framing that would intensify that isolation for her, the lack of the ability to communicate, it's a very young person learning a lot about the world in a very difficult place.
I think the conversation with Sophia was a lot about what she feel in general on each scene. So it was becoming a matter of number of shots you do on her and how you cover her. And so that's already a strong choice for film and for a choice of editing. So you will notice that you have a lot of scene, but not a lot of shot. And that already, you make an isolation of her when you decide to not, do a coverage on Jacob Elordi, on Elvis, when you cover a scene. And it's become also a choice on the edit when you don't use a reverse, or you use a reverse less, you are more on Priscilla. So the feeling you have on the loneliness is also is part of the script, but also the part of the how you shoot everything. Of course, you have the technical detail about what lens, the depth of field, and will help the choice of the lens. I did from the beginning. It was ultra speed, and I shot around 2. And I have a fantastic focus puller team in Toronto. We make it right. So that make a type of isolation with a character.
Yeah, no, you can feel it for sure. And I think a lot of scenes, but not a lot of coverage, the sort of moments that you're given also give you a sense of you're only seeing a piece of this, you have access to it, but only to the degree that she may have said so in the book. But these are very private moments and very focused on her, surprisingly, considering obviously she was with the king of rock and roll, or this iconic figure.
Especially at this time, you try to imagine what was Elvis in the 60s. in the world at this time. That was the biggest star probably in the world. So for sure. But if you look, for example, a scene, Elvis is coming back from a tour, and he's coming back with all his friends, and they come at night, and they start to do a party, sit together around the table, and you see the coverage. You have a one wide shot at the big, when they sit at the table, and you finish on her only. And Elvis is talking, but we stay on her. So that part of the writing from Sophia. There are no coverage on Elvis. There are no coverage on the other people, because traditionally, what we would do in general, you say wide shot, cover on the people talking story, laughing, some insert, and some close up. And here, nothing of that. You have a wide shot, and you have a close-up on Priscilla, and she's hearing the conversation. That's it.
Wow, that's pretty bold. So not even shot to have an option, designed and shot very intentionally.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The choice to, I mean, I'm not saying they felt to me often in silhouette. Certainly not the lightest part of any frame of when I was watching it, and it seemed like, well, first I'm like, well, they're trying to accentuate the fact that these are actors playing people and they look like them, but they don't look exactly like them. But it's also, there's a darkness around their lives. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to ask you about that, because it seems like there is something brighter in the, that's always something in the frame that's brighter than them. And they're often being shown concealed or in silhouette. And I'm sure that's intentional.
I think yes. No, if I try to make it wrong that way, so I succeed, because I like it. No, but I think that you have few scenes like that when they are together and they are silhouette. But for example, Sophia on the script, which I found always very familiar, but it's something very shy from Sophia. Always when they kiss each other, always on the script it was they kiss each other silhouette. So always being the case. Fireworks, they are silhouette, behind they are kissing the first time, behind the practical light, they are kissing inside the car, silhouette. So that's something very shy about that. But also that gives you the idea of first love, something very intimate, very sensual, and very not open to the world. So that also tells the story. And I think the film has to be a balance, on emotion, and also on darkness and brightness. What they need to be silhouette or not. I think is something important for the flow of the film. So, for example, when I start the movie until the end, I always kept an image or each setup. Always coming from the DIT. When I'm showing film, is coming from the lab. So, and I put everything together like a storyboard. So at the end, I have the full movie. So I put in order. So that gives me a sense also of a rhythm of light, and on the wide shot, tight shot, darkness, brightness, and color. So that helped me to balance the film from the beginning to the end. Even you don't shoot in continuity, but at least that gives me a sense for what exactly I'm doing.
And this is something that you're referring to during the actual photography.
Yes, every day. So every day, at the end of the day, I put back the scene together on a keynote, on a PDF. So I could see a wide shot, the title shot. So I could see the sense, what will be the scale of the film. Not only on the cinematography, but also as an editing point. Do we need more wide shot? Because what is difficult, and Sophia doesn't do so much wide shot, because for her, what is important is to be with a character. So she's always with Priscilla. So there are no such a huge wide shot. But what is interesting that when you're on set, you see on the small monitor, or you have the biggest one is a 25-inch monitor. But if you think about cinema, the feeling of cinema, and you are far away, you need to sometimes to give a bigger scale to the movie. So it's very important to say how tight I want to be and how wide I want to be. So for me, the important works to do every day to feel the rhythm of the of the side of frame.
The film editor Walter Murch, it's a very famous story that he would put little action figures in front of the Steenbeck to give himself the sense of what someone in a theater might
That's a good
see
idea.
when,
I love the idea.
yeah, it's just because you're watching it and you're watching it on an 8-inch, editing table for so long that your perception of it is so different than what someone watching it in a theater would be. I always loved that story, but it's difficult.
I'm gonna bring a small figure next time I'm gonna show the movie. It's a good idea. I'm gonna put on the front of the monitor to say, "Hey, don't forget."
A little Lego Elvis, just like stick it on the front. But
it's very smart.
Yeah, no, it's because your mind, it fools you. You also start seeing it a certain way, make assumptions. You know more than people who, right? Like all of these things you're talking about are things that, in the best case scenario, and no one in the audience is breaking down. They're experiencing something and having an emotional experience based on a lot of emotional and technical and creative decisions that you're making all the time. But your experience making it has to try to access what someone watching it is going to feel, but it can't. It's you can't be Jimi Hendrix and listen to him play as an audience member too.
You need to have the sensation. Even it's about you can hear some director will say, "Oh, I'm doing the movie only for me." What I understand, but at least you need to do it for your emotion. That
Yeah.
is important, because what some could be very interesting is to to disturb the people. Not only to please them, but also you could have the feeling to displease them. So it could be another voice. So, but you need to get with your emotion for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, you're talking about perspective and always being with Priscilla, and I think that is achieved very well. I feel like you're let into a private place. Like that's the access you're given, to, because she also did get access to this, very unique life, whether it was satisfying ultimately or disappointing but to feel that you're being taken with her is a very special place to be taken, and I feel like it was handled that way. Like I'm here, like and whether that's the sort of the naturalness with which it's presented and lack of artifice that makes it feel like this more of a voyeuristic experience that I'm sharing, I'm not sure, but there was something where I certainly felt close to all of it, certainly for her. But Elvis gets a little, I mean, he just comes off as a very strange, damaged person.
But I think you can understand. You can understand, especially not all the artists at this level. To succeed, you need to tell a story as an artist, and to be able to tell a story, you need to have something darker on you. So some people know to manage better than the other, and but you try to imagine the success at this time. It was and especially with America, and this body language, and so I think it's not an excuse, but you can understand.
Yeah, and it seems like he's someone who can't be alone.
Yes, yeah.
Right,
But
it's surrounded by friends.
like a lot of artists, if you don't, if you as an artist, if you as a director, as a painter, if you don't paint, if you don't direct, if you don't sing, you are not an artist. It's for the other people. So if you are a director and nobody see your film, what you are. So you need the audience for that. You need the people around you to make it happen.
Yeah, well, it's that validation, right? And I suppose because his mother had already died when the film began, so there's that, just as a written piece, but you have to understand where he's coming from, what he's not getting, from, you know, the lab all lost there, and what Priscilla fills in that void, and the people around him, you know, the family, the friends that, you know, and the audience seems to be less acknowledged. You know, there's not a lot of him playing and rocking out. It's like, because it is her story. I think there's that great scene where he's sort of like doing acrobatics in his cape, like in 1970. And there's some part of me that wanted to know how much of this, you know, have you seen references in real life for, because obviously there's a lot of people who had taken footage, a lot of news clippings, whether they were still or not. But did you look at a lot of things that existed from different eras on him, or did you just say, this is what we're going to do?
I look some footage, you know, of course I look Elvis from Baz Luhrmann, and I look some home movie. I was more interested by home movie by himself. I think it was more interesting. You can find on YouTube very easily. I try to find the intimate of how was Priscilla, how was Elvis, you know, so that was my goal. Regarding the show, no, I didn't look at it. I think I haven't, in certain way, enough information for what I saw before. And for example, the scene where you see him from silhouette is a mix of what you could, the budget allow you to do, and what was the solution. The budget, we lost probably $1 million before we start to doing the prep, and Sophia has to cut a 10-page, and we knew that it was about Priscilla, but it was, you know, probably a few scenes, you know, when he was singing, and was not interested to copy for what had been done by Elvis because the project was, you know, much bigger. But what was the solution? And we know we have a theater because we shot few scenes on this theater, and I found an image of on a jazz singer fully silhouette, and I said that's the solution. We don't have the money, but at least we can play the idea of it. So you know, we just put, you know, smoke, 20 extras. I asked the art department to put some light on the floor, and that's it.
And that was inspired by the Neil Diamond film?
No, it was inspired by just a picture I saw from a jazz man singing.
Oh, okay. Because you say jazz singer, I think.
Yeah, no, just a jazz singing. Sorry.
Okay, all right, good. It also reminded me a little bit, oddly, of the film Lenny. Some of his performance footage looked a lot like that. It was because it's his perspective so specifically in that film. You're behind him a lot of the time when he's performing and seeing it the way he might see it, with just lights in your eyes, and that sort of like, it's not so much about the audience. I mean, there's a lot of that film that is, but I thought it was an interesting way to cover that, actually. I'm sorry.
Because if you think about, you know, the budget and the time you have, because we don't have time to, you know, we shot this one in 45 minutes. So when you think about the time and the 6 week and no budget, you know, if you think, okay, so you want to shoot Elvis, okay, and the 70s, how much money you have to bring on the table to make it happen, and to make it interesting, and to, you know, to make it so good, and this much more money that is worth it for all the movie. You know? So that became a balance, I think, between, you know, the director and the producer. And of course, you know, because I wish we could see more, but Elvis was done already, the movie. So and they have a lot of money. So what you could achieve, copy. No, it didn't make sense.
No, it didn't. And the perspective is different here too. It's not about him. That's what I think. This film is decidedly, you know, about her. That part of his life is the part where she figures out how to finally extract herself from it, which I think happens within the next few minutes. You know, and there were a couple. There's a couple. I don't want to go on too much longer, and I really appreciate your time here. But there were a few things where the film seems to have a few patterns of her walking down hallways, and you're with her and traveling with her when she's first, you know, kind of taken by this, and she's at school in Germany, and you follow her, and it's almost like you just feel that she probably doesn't, she might not even be walking on this, there might be air underneath her instead of the floor. The disappointment that she feels later, where the camera doesn't move and she just walks through. And it feels us leaving as sort of left as she did. There's a number. I think there were. I don't know if I counted. It just seemed like that happens after Las Vegas, there's meaning there for me. I'm assuming that's designed on your end to be with her or not be with her, but is that designed as sort of like an anchor to have that sort of repetitive meaning?
I think it's an anchor for Sophia. That's something very strong when we talk about the script during the prep. That she from the beginning she told me that's a tracking shot. On this corridor, that's a tracking shot. So I think the corridor express a departure or loneliness, a time passing by. So always that's this feeling in cinema overall. If you think about Wong Kar Wai, the corridor in the movie Wong Kar Wai, you think there's always something emptiness about that and loneliness. So and the journey of it. So yes, for sure, yes, we did a lot of track back, especially.
Yeah, no, it has a feeling, and it was noteworthy when you didn't, right? Like because it's not the same. There's some, you tend to notice that.
For example, at the end, when she leaves Graceland, is a wide shot and she's small.
Yeah, she's taking a goodbye to everybody, and then then walks away.
Yeah, she walks away, and inside she's very small. She just she go in, go by, go away. So you are not with her. You see she's leaving Graceland. It's about the space and the loneliness of the space, and not anymore about her at this point.
Yeah. Oh well, we're with her though. I mean, we're in the car.
Yes.
Driving away, and the window's not open, but the future's outside, and there's something very special about that also. I mean, that's there's no confinement of hallways, right? It was an interesting choice I was surprised the movie had ended, but it made sense to me. Because where is it going? And I also didn't know if that, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how much more it deals with post, their relationship or any of that. But this was, I guess, just a portion of the full Elvis and Me, correct?
Yes, and I think what is very interesting, I was in Venice when Sophia presented her movie, and Priscilla Presley was there at the press conference. And at one point, she was not supposed to talk. She was just sitting over there. And one journalist asked her directly, what were the best moment on the movie? What's the moment she preferred in the movie? And she said, when I'm leaving, the last shot.
I mean, obviously
it's very beautiful and emotional. It's something, it's really come from the heart, and that was something very nice to hear from her.
Oh, I'm sure. And the movie is very restrained also. It's not like she's laughing or smiling. It's not big. There aren't moments that are big, but collectively it feels big.
Yes.
I mean, the question I had, of course, I think a lot of people have, is Graceland itself. I know this was a set, it was built in Toronto or something based on a lot of very specific schematics, but you got to build it so that you could shoot it with more control. Was there ever any idea that you would actually go to Graceland, or is that completely off the table?
I think Tamara was fantastic. She's a fantastic production designer, and it's so much on the detail and on everything, and it was a great collaboration. But I think she went to Graceland, but she make it higher for the camera, especially because it was tall, Jacob Elordi, to avoid to always shoot on the ceiling, and perhaps she changed a little bit of the dimension, and after it's become an interpretation, because she find color picture, black and white picture, and which period, and during the time we shot 60 from the 70s, he changed the set, but we didn't. So the pool table was never being on the first floor. It was on the ground, so there was no point, to show on the small space. So So there's some change, and the bedroom, we don't have any picture from the bedroom. Always Elvis refused that anybody could go up in the bedroom. So we have no reference. So Tamara made up, so to make it okay. We knew he was living on a cave, never opened the curtain, and but that's it. So so she tried to express the feeling of it, and that was a fantastic work, I think.
Yeah, no, agreed. And it's and that's the thing. It's not factual in the sense that it needs to be, a direct representation. It's an interpretation. And it serves the film and the story and the storytellers. So I think that it makes sense. I just,
But for certain people on the art department is very important. They are very sensitive. So each detail, they could tell you, this newspaper from Boston is not from this time, because we opened the magazine at this time, and this record it has to be specific at this time. So some element on the art department, their people are very, very specific, as they are very good of it. So, so they pay attention to all the details. They want to make sure we don't come back to them. Oh, what a question! This car is not coming from this period. So,
no, I mean, there was always somebody that's going to say this wasn't real. That's not, But if you're paying attention to that, there's other problems, I think, right? So yeah, but I found
everybody has this proud, so you have to let the people express on the set, so if they want to be very technical and historical, you have to let them do it, what they feel about it. This is very important.
Guilty pleasure go-to movie, I guess that's kind of the desert island movie question. I'm not sure if they're the same thing, but something that don't overthink it, but a movie that's like, always will be special, or you'll always watch it if it's on TV.
A Japanese movie overall in general in the 60s, 50s. That's my favorite guilty pleasure. Everything, Naru's, Kurosawa, Mizoguchi. That's my guilty pleasure. And the last guilty pleasure will be, of course, Antonioni. But they are linked together in certain way.
Yeah, well,
all this cinema are linked together.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's funny because I've been asking this question, and I think of Pasolini as my. Have you seen Oedipus Rex?
Yes.
There's the opening 5 minutes of that film is like, I don't know, that there's something like, if I just had that and nothing else, I feel like I would know everything I need to know about movies. But it's been a pleasure to speak with you, Philippe. I will say that, for the audience here, you can check us out at filmmakeru.com. You can follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. I think I'm getting this right. I'm Josh Apter, founder of Manhattan Edit Workshop and partner in Filmmaker U, filling in for Gordon Brickell. But all right, everybody go out there and see Priscilla, and we'll see you next time.